Okay, so this is all about inequalities. Okay, inequalities are those symbols that where you see where it says less than or greater than. Okay, less than or greater than. So let me go over here. Let me open up another window so that we can talk about the different inequalities. And if you want to take notes, that's fine, but I'm not requiring you guys to take notes on this. Since you guys guys should have sufficient notes in your, after you guys watch all the ed puzzles. Gotta restart this. All right, where'd it go? There we go. Okay. All right, so when you're dealing with inequalities, you have this symbol, okay, and that one, okay, where it's just pointed either way, and then you've got the same thing with the equal sign. All right. So what all this means is it's an inequality statement, meaning that one number is different than another number, right? So if I have like 8, let me use a different marker here. So if I have 8 and I have 7, and I'm going to fit one of these inequality statements in there, I could say that 8 is greater than 7. Or if I say it the other way, I could also say that 7 is less than 8, right? So basically this is always going to open up towards a bigger number. All right, so if you guys remember when you were younger seeing this, you would say, hey, the fish is eating the bigger number, right? Okay, or maybe your teacher said it's the alligator, right? So now it's the alligator eating the other number. There's his little tail, his little legs. Okay, lovely, right? All right, so again, the bigger number, you'll always open it up to that. Now, inequality statements in algebra are going to have variables. Okay, they have variables, meaning that we don't know what that number is, but whatever that number is, it could be, in this case, greater or bigger than 7. Right? Or if I flip this around, it says now that x is, whatever the number is less than 7. So we don't know what the number is, but it's something less. But also remember, it's not equal to 7 either. It has to be less. So it can't be actually 7. Like, this doesn't make sense, right? 7 is not less than 7, but it is equal to it. Okay, so if they are the same number, I just need to put an equal sign. All right, so you could have this, or it could be less than, right? And we graph that different ways. All right, so when it's just one letter, that's called a one variable inequality, one variable, right? So if I'm going to graph this on a line, and say I've got 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 7 is right here, right? And at 7, if it's this one, if it's equal to, we're saying that it could be 7 or it's less than 7, right? So if it could be 7, we use that solid dot, right? So for these, we use a solid dot. And then we just point the arrow in the direction where the numbers could be, right? So if it's less than 7, that means it would be any number before 7 or under 7. And we point our arrow going to the left. Okay, if it's like this, we could do it the same way. And when you write these out on paper, you don't necessarily have to write every number. You could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or literally just do this. Put a 7. Okay, and then here, we're saying it has to be less than 7. Not equal to it, but less than 7. Okay, and if you guys remember earlier in, I think it was quarter 1, we had like open dots and closed dots for domain and range. Okay, this is kind of like that. Well, here, this is open because we're saying it cannot be 7. It can't be equal to 7. But we know that the number is less. So we point the arrow going that way. Okay. And if we flip this now we're just saying in the first one that, let's say I put 0 and 7 here. Now we're just saying that the number could be, it could be 7 itself because of the equal sign. So we put a solid dot. Or it could be greater. It has to be bigger. So now I just point the arrow that's going the other way. And that's the same thing here. Since it can't be equal to 7, but can be greater than 7, I put an open dot instead. So anytime you have just the less than or greater sign symbol without the equal sign, you're going to put the open dot. Okay, if it has the equal sign, solid dot. All right. So we're going to go over some of those and how that works in IXL. Okay, so bring this out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at these couple assignments here in the last part of actually these are due on Wednesday, by the way. So this folder you have is not due until tomorrow. So this first one, graphing inequalities. Okay, so graphing, what you're going to be doing is they're going to give you a number line and a statement. So this is called an inequality statement. Okay, statement. We don't really say equation. Okay, and I don't want you guys to get confused by what is an equation and what is an inequality. All right, so remember, an equation is something like this. That's an equation, right? It's an equation because it has equal sign. And then I could take the same numbers and now put this in the middle of it. And now it's a inequality. And if you guys notice, look at the first word, or first part of the word, equal. And this part says unequal, meaning it's not equal. Okay, so that's again why it's important to say, don't say inequality equation, because they're different. They're two different things. You have equation and then inequality. Inequalities are with the less than and greater symbols. So again, let me write this down. That's open dot, and that's going to be closed dot, just so we have that to reference. All right. Okay, so here we're greater than 7. So remember, we're greater than 7. So first we make our dot on the 7. And we got to pay attention to, it's equal to, has the equal sign, so that means that this dot needs to be closed. Okay, so what I want to do is it's greater than, which means it can be anything greater than 7. So I point the arrow to the right. And just a way to kind of cheat on this one, if you guys look at the symbol, you guys see how it's kind of like pointing to the right? Well, that's the way you point your arrow. Okay, so if this points to the right here, that symbol, then you know you're going to the right on your graph. Okay, so that's kind of a shortcut to knowing which way to go. All right, and then again, what's important is changing the dot. So if you need to change the dot, you just click on it, and you can keep clicking until you get the right one. Okay, whether it's open or closed. All right, so this one is closed. Okay, so here now it's less than 4. So I first start on 4, and it's less, which is to the left. And if you notice, guys, you want to go all the way to the end. Okay, so don't like stop here. Otherwise, that's wrong. Okay, that means you're only between 3 and 4. All right, so if you need to turn it off, just click on the middle and it'll turn it off. So you want to go all the way to the end, and that's equal to, so I want a solid dot. All right. Okay, so now here we're at -9. And again, it's less than -9. And don't be fooled. Remember that negative numbers are small. The bigger the negative is, the smaller it is, the less it's worth. Right? So just because you have -1 over here, that's not less than -9. -9 is actually less than -1. So we want to go to the left. Okay. And now here, if you guys see, there's no equal sign. So now we need that to be open. Okay, so we need an open dot. Okay, same thing here. X is greater than 4. So dot on the 4, make your line all the way to the right, and there's no equal sign. It cannot be equal to 4, so you leave it open dot there. Okay, so that's pretty simple. That's how you do those. All right. And I think on this one, you just need 60 points. So you got to get at least probably like 3 or 4 more correct. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, so now write inequalities from graphs. So now what it's going to do is going to give you the graph, and now you actually have to write the inequality statement. All right, so now you have the graph. Now you know the number that you're going to use is wherever your dot is, right? So I can start with 4. I know that. And let's just go ahead and use X. The question is, what goes in the middle? Okay, well, first I have a closed dot. And remember, closed dot, if you guys look right here, closed dot means I should have an equal sign. So it's one of these two. Now the arrow is pointing to the left. So that means it's less, the X is less, which would mean it's this one. Okay, and again, the shortcut to be able to figure that out is, if you guys notice, this is pointing to the left, so pick the one that's pointing to the left. Okay, so that's kind of the shortcut to figure that out. All right, whether you're doing this, whether you actually have to graph it or come up with the statement itself. Okay, same thing here. Now we got an open dot, so I'll start with X, and it's going to the left, so it's less. And as an open dot, so that means we're no equal sign, and the dot's over the 3. So X is less than 3. Okay, then here, now we want to start with X. Now the arrow is pointing to the right, so the number is greater than 9. So we want greater than, and an open dot, so we don't need the equal sign, and we put 9. Okay, so that's pretty much how you do those. Let me see, how many points do you guys got to get? 60. So let's see how kind of difficult they get as the numbers go up. Okay, so really the numbers just get bigger, but it's still the same thing, right? So here, X, it's going to the right, which means it's greater than -82. So greater with an open dot like that, and then -82. Okay? Any questions on that? Tomorrow's folder. That's really all you're going through there. And then you'll have a quiz where you're kind of doing the same stuff. Okay? I think in the quiz you'll have to graph one, and then also match. You're doing some matching. It'll give you a graph and you got to match the equation, or the inequality, not the equation. All right, so let's go to folder B. All right, folder B, the quiz is the discussion. The discussion is going to ask you about when you need to graph an inequality. And again, in the discussion, guys, and I think we got a discussion here as well. These, you got to record a video this week. Okay, you got to record a video. But just remember, if I've had plenty of students who say, hey, I don't want to record my face. That's fine. But I still want you to record a video. Okay, so the option for you guys then is to do a screencast. Okay, I left you a link on how to do a screencast and how to set it up on your computer. Most of you guys already have this set up, Screencastify. Okay, all you got to do is go up here to the right. Once you have it set up, click on that. And then make sure your microphone's on, because we need to hear you. If you don't want the webcam, you don't want to see your face, you can click that off. Or when you start the video, you can always close it. So I'll show you how to close it once you open it. So once I hit record, it's going to ask me which screen, right? Now, for you guys, you're only going to have one screen. I have 2 because I have a second monitor. So I want to record this screen, but for you guys, it should only ask 1. So I click share. It'll give me a countdown. All right, so my question is, when graphing inequality, less than, greater than, and da-da-da, which inequalities require an open dot? Okay, and here's a few examples. Well, I have to use an open dot when, okay, I have to use a closed dot when, and you guys explain that, right? All right, now when I'm done, I can hit this pause button down here and click stop, and that'll stop the recording. Or I can go right up here, because sometimes if you go to a different window, this thing disappears. I can just click on that and then click stop. All right, once you're done, give it a title, and title it by like what the discussion is. So you can see this is week 8 discussion, so just put week 8 discussion. And do that for a couple reasons, because you want to make sure you're able to find it if you have to go back and get it out of your Google Drive. Because basically what this does, when you make a video, it puts it in Google Drive. Okay. Now you guys can't hear the sound because it's automatically muted. All I got to do is press this button to turn the sound on. All right. So my question is, when graphic. All right. Now, when you put the link in the discussion, you need to go here and make sure this doesn't say private. If that says private, nobody can watch it. Okay, so make sure you guys click that and make it unlisted. Now, public just means that anyone can find it. Now, I don't know how somebody's going to find your video, but if you don't want to make it public, it doesn't matter. Just do unlisted, okay? This last one with the little link symbol. Once you do that, then click copy. Copy the link, and then you can go back over discussion. And then in here, when you post a link, you're going to want to hit the link button. Okay, hit the link button, and then you paste it here, give it a title. You could say, I don't know, anything you want, my video, and then that's it. And actually, there's two ways to do that. You can do it that way, but then you have to like type something here. So it might be easier just to do this. Click on this one where it says insert, link, then do the same thing, paste your link here, give it a title, my video. I don't care what you guys put there. You can put my answer, my video, whatever. If you do it there like that, clicking this button, then you don't have to type anything extra. Then you can just click post and it's all ready to go, okay? So, yep, looks like one person already did that. So if you guys check out, Ramin already set his up. So he's been doing those as well. And I know some of the other students have. So very easy, guys, and effective. That way you can explain exactly what you're talking about. And we're not just looking at you. All right. All right. So that's the discussion. Going to go over real quick stuff on folder B. And let's jump on over to graphing a two variable inequality. So remember the last one, we only had X, right? Now, some of the times you're going to have two variables to graph. So two variable inequality. All right, which means you're going to graph it on a coordinate plane. All right, so let me give you a couple examples on how to do that first. All right, so here if I got my graph, and let's just say I got a graph y equals 1/2 x plus 3. All right, now you guys should know how to graph that by now. Remember, you start with your B. This is the B. This is the M. So I start at B. I go 1, 2, 3. And then I use the slope to get my next point. Up 1, right 2. Up 1, right 2. And I keep going, right, until I kind of run out of space here. And so I got to make a line. All right, so that's how you graph. Now, make it into an inequality. So instead of an equation now, I'm going to make it greater. Y is greater than. So the only thing that changes now is now you have to graph the line. The line is still graphed like this. But how you graph the line changes a little bit. If you have a symbol that looks like this, your line needs to be dashed. If you have a line that looks like this, I'm sorry, if you have a symbol that looks like that, then you keep your line solid. Okay, so you guys can see that one doesn't have the equal sign. So now the only thing that changes is I make it dashed. Okay, and then there's one more step. The last step is that you need to shade. Okay, you need to shade, because basically what we're saying is that the answer Y can be greater than this line. And now think about it. What would be greater than the line? Above it or below it? Above it. So anything above the line could be an answer. So what we're saying basically is that if your symbol says greater than or equal, you're going to shade above. So like this a little bit. And then if it goes the other way, if it says less than like this, then you're going to shade below it. All right, so what that means for this line, since it's greater, I basically would shade everything above it. Okay? And if let's say I flip it around. Let's say now I put less than or equal, right? The line is still graphed like this, but now it has equal, so I make it solid in this time. And because it says less, I'll go below with the shade. Now, when you're doing this, you're solving the inequality. You're saying, well, then the question is, what's the answer? What would the answer to this even be? The answer is anything, any point that's in that shaded area. So like this point right here, that's an answer. That point is, what is it? 2, 1. This point is an answer. This point is an answer. This point is an answer. This is everything in here is an answer. If it's over here and it's not in the shade, that is not an answer. Okay? Because the question will be, what is the solution? Okay? A solution is only somewhere that's in the shade. All right, so let's go over some of those. Now, some of these are going to require you to remember how to graph something like that. Because notice, guys, there's no x over here. So if there's no x over here and it's just y and it's just x, it's either going to be straight across or it's going to be straight up and down. Now, if it's just y, this is a horizontal line at -5. So I start from here, I go across, I just need 2 points, doesn't matter where. And remember, this has the equal to sign, so I'll make it solid. And you can see you can change it by just clicking it to make it dashed and solid. And then it says y is less. Well, if it's less, then that means we need to shade under the line. Okay? So the answer to this would be anything under. So you can see the little shade button comes up. So I just click below it. Okay? So let's go over a few of these and then we'll stop. All right, so here it said, now notice it's just x, right? X is greater. X is greater is a vertical line. It's straight up and down. So at x equals 6, I go straight up and down with 2 points. Now notice there's no equal sign. And remember, when there's no equal sign, we make a dashed line. So I click on the line and make it dashed. And then the last part is saying x is greater. X is greater than 6. The number could be bigger than 6. Well, if 6 is here in the middle, which way would be greater? To the left or to the right? To the right, because everything to the right is bigger than 6. So if this said less than 6, then I would shade on the other side. Okay? All right, so now this one, now we have a number with x. Okay, we have y over here and x here. So first, let's write down and talk about what that even means. Okay, so we have y is greater than -5x. Okay, well, that's my m, that's my slope, but then there's no b here. If there's no b, that means your b is 0. So when I start that line, I'm going to start at 0, and then my slope is -5. And remember, you can put this over 1. Okay? So here I'd start this graph right in the middle at 0. Now it says -5, so that's -5 over 1, which means we go down 5, right 1. There's an equal to sign, so that means it's solid. And then it says y is greater. Y is greater. So which way is greater in this line? Well, it's kind of hard to tell because it's really steep, right? It's like almost straight up. So I want you to think about it like this. This is what your line kind of looks like right now. It's leaning down this way. It's going down to the right. Well, let's just say the line was like this. This one also goes down to the right. And that's pretty easy to see where, what is it? We have to be greater than. it's pretty easy to see where greater than is here, because greater than is right above. But where would it be on a line that's almost straight up and down? Well, if you notice, it's leaning the same way. So if I were to tilt this line, I would shade above would be here on this side, because it's leaning to the left. So that means above is over here. Whereas let's just say it was leaned like this. Now it's leaning to the right, and above or greater than is here. Okay? So if it leans to the left, the greater than is to the right. If it leans to the right, then greater than is to the left. Okay? And that's above it. So on this line, then above would be here on this side. So usually the hardest part, I think, for students is the shading. The shading is always the toughest part. The graphing is usually the easier part for you guys. Again, here, y is less than x. Your slope here, guys, there is a missing 1 right there. And then the y-intercept is 0. Okay? Because remember, if it's just a number, if it's like this, guys, if it's like y is less than 6 and there's no x over here, that's just that straight line. Okay, but as long as there's an x, then that's a line that that will have a slope and a y-intercept. Okay, so here we're going to start at 0. The slope is 1 over 1. There's no equal sign, so dashed. And it says y is less, so we shade under. Okay? All right, that's all I'm going to show for today. Do you guys have any questions?